Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. Welcome to the VSS Monitoring webinar, first in many webinars that we're running oriented toward helping enterprise and service provider customers tame the network data monster. As networks grow in complexity and speed, VSS Monitoring plays an important role in helping ensure that you can optimize your network performance monitoring tools as well as your security solutions. What we're here to discuss today is implementing performance and security monitoring for 100 gig networks. And I am Chris Reckel. I am VP of Marketing at VSS. And I'm joined here today by Gordon Beath, who is Director of Product Management.
Hello, and welcome to everybody, whichever time zone you happen to be in.
So this morning, we're going to take a look at several items as part of our webinar. We're going to be looking at market needs and trends and the challenges associated with 100 gig networks. We'll also then look at the challenges associated with them and how VSS monitoring can help solve those problems. In terms of the logistics of the webinar, we expect the entire event to run about 45 minutes. And about 30 minutes of presentation, and then some time for Q&A. So let's talk a little bit about what's going on in the market. What we've seen is a tremendous amount of volume and traffic in core networks and data centers growing rapidly. This is particularly in the service provider network over the last year or so. And also becoming more and more of a trend within enterprise environments. Indeed, if you believe the industry watchers, folks like Infinitus Research, in their studies of 100 gig networks, they've seen a four-fold increase in 100 gig ports just in the last year, mainly driven by service providers today.
Right.
But within 14 and more going into 15, they see enterprise 100 gig ports becoming rolled out within enterprise solutions. And indeed, if you look just at the 100 gig segment of the market, they expect that market to be about $6 billion by 2017. So net is, the need for speed is driving network architectures both within service providers first, but ultimately enterprises as well.
Yeah, so we'd just like to ask for a moment, can everybody hear what we're saying? We understand that maybe a couple of people cannot. So you can indicate by chat if you want to.
Let's go.
Because I need them or what?
I need you to mute the audio, and we need to keep going.
Okay, so it might be there an issue. Next slide.
Are you muting? Okay, so I think we adjusted for our technical glitch, so let's go ahead and keep going.
Yep.
So as I mentioned, 100 gig, the need for speed driving growth, $6 billion market by 2017. And how do those network requirements drive visibility demands? So obviously, you have increasing network volume within core networks. And with that, there becomes a need to have monitoring tools to make sure that that network is behaving properly, either from a network performance perspective or a security perspective. So that drives the requirement for additional tools to monitor those environments, and many of those tools are incapable of handling 100 gig speeds. Later in the presentation, we'll show just how few devices on the tool side are really ready to handle 100 gig. And so with the tool's inability to keep up, we need to make sure that we can provide as a visibility plane down-speed conversions to make sure that information from the network can flow to these tools. Enterprise Management Associates states as the demand for 100 gig. They did a survey and published it back in late 2013 asking service providers and enterprise customers, what are the maximum network link speeds within your organization's data center core network? Currently, about 8% indicate that they have 100 gig, but fully 1/3 indicate that they plan to transition to 100 gig within the next 12 months. So clearly what we're seeing here is that the demand for 100 gig actually outstrips all other all of the technologies here, even 40 gig. So I think what we're seeing, Gordon, is the desire to sort of jump all the way to the end solution versus trying to take the insurance step.
Yeah, that's correct. If you look at the industry in general, there were a number of enterprises that went to 40 gig, but not many service providers did do that. But the service providers are jumping straight to 100 gig, and we know that some enterprises are actually considering 100 gig for the future as well. But that's why you see such a large number of people that are planning to go to 100 gig, because that's where carriers at least are going.
All right, so now let's have Gordon, if you could walk us through some of the challenges monitoring 100 gig networks.
Yeah, sure, thanks. Thanks, Chris. So some of the challenges that you have when you're trying to monitor 100 gig networks is around scaling that network monitoring. We're trying to increase the amount of network traffic that's increasing continually is really driving this need for more speed and higher speed links. Otherwise, you just have an unmanageable number of links to have through your network. And so that's been a strong driver for why people need to go to 100 gig. It makes it easy to manage. It's also able to handle the large amount of traffic. And so a lot of core networks and large data centers that are upgrading for this, they just, using the current technologies that they have, just can't keep up. And then the next challenge is around, okay, so I've got these 100 gig networks. How do I actually access these 100 gig links? Because, what you've been using up to now in terms of technology to get access to those links is going to be much more challenging when it comes to 100 gig. Whether it's regarding using mirror ports on your network switches, or even providing some tapping technology into your network to be able to access the 100 gig networks. And in a lot of data centers, if you're trying to run 100 gig around the data center, you'll probably be using the cheaper multi-mode version of the 100 gig fiber, which then becomes a challenge to tap with traditional tapping devices. So these are the types of things that become a challenge. And also, some providers, as they're putting the 100 gig into their networks, they may start small, where they have one, maybe two links at each particular site, and then grow from there. So they need to have some growth path for that as well. So if we look at accessing the 100 gig networks themselves, 100 gig ports obviously are not very cheap, and so if you have a network switch is capable of 100 gig, do you really want to dedicate one or more of the ports on that switch to be mirror or span ports? It's probably not so cost effective. 100 gig does have a kind of reduced power characteristic in terms of what budget you have between the transmit end and the receive end to allow you to transmit the signal over a certain distance. And then if you want to use some passive optical taps, you actually need to put those in, splitting off some of the light light power that's running on that fibre, and so therefore you're further reducing the budget you have available for sending over a certain distance. It's also true that if you're looking at single mode types of installations, that using traditional, the older style of single mode fibres, 100 gig, because it's running at wavelengths of 25 gigs each, will actually have higher loss characteristics. And so therefore the need to have higher quality fibre cable in your network, as well as the actual splitting, the splitter technology that you're using in the taps, need to be improved as well. So you need to use at least OS2 fibre in that case. And when it comes to 100 gig multi-mode, if you're trying to tap into one of those types of networks, or even take it from an error port if you did happen to have one, breaking out that into 10 gigs can become a bit of a challenge, because the cable itself is multiple pairs of fibre just in the way it's been defined and implemented. So therefore, if you're going to break out, you end up having a kind of an octopus that you have to manage as a part of your tapping solution. So that's not very optimal as well. So you need to have a solution that will remove the need for you to have to do this type of octopus management. And then when it comes to the next step, so you've got access to your traffic. I do apologise for the interference there in the background. So now you've got access to your traffic, you actually want to optimize the delivery of that traffic towards your tools, because monitoring tools, analytics tools, or even troubleshooting tools are very unlikely to one, have a 100 gig interface, and even if they do have a 100 gig interface, they certainly cannot handle the volume of traffic that a full line rate or close to line rate 100 gig interface would provide. Then, because you sort of, when you're bringing in traffic that's traveling in both directions on a 100 gig network, you're effectively aggregating both directions together to be able to see the conversation on the entire link, or across multiple links. And therefore, as you do that aggregation, if the traffic is bursty by nature, you can actually then result in traffic loss as you're forwarding that traffic that's been aggregated towards your tools. And then, there are also the need for multiple different types of tools. You don't just have one type of tool. You need probably to have many of them. And so you need to be able to create multiple copies of that traffic, at least some of the traffic that will be needed by different types of tools. And if there's too much for one particular instance of a tool, you'll need to have some method to be able to spread the load of the traffic across multiple instances of those tools.
So a box is shown up on your screen that says, which best describes your 100 gig network deployment, with the choices being, I've deployed 100 gig today, I'm looking at doing 100 gig in the next 12 months, or C, I currently have no plan.
Yeah, thanks very much, Chris. It looks like polls are coming in, so that's good. I'll give it a few more minutes. And here we can actually see the results. It is obviously a few people have actually deployed 100 gig already. There's probably double that are actually planning to implement within the next 12 months. And there are quite a number that still don't have plans to implement in the next 12 months. Actually, this is not completely surprising, because we know there are not a lot of organizations out there who may be considering 100 gig, but still probably not within the next 12-month period.
Yeah, it's true. Just to go back to some of the data that we had shown earlier, the plan over the next 12 months is based on this audit, about half what Enterprise Management Associates audit poll of both enterprise and service provider customers back in late 2013, and it seems about right from the perspective that if you look at what Infonetics has been saying about the market, we're going to see a gradual growth here. Do you think, from a segment perspective, fast growth, getting to 6 billion by 2017 within a overall Ethernet switch port market of more than 100 billion. So what we're really focusing in on here is that sort of tip of the sword, as it were, for early implementers who value put strategic value in their network and are trying to drive business change through it.
Right. I think the case that some people really they feel sort of forced almost to actually go straight to 100 gig today because of the needs that they have in the network, and so they've got no other option really. Yep. They can't continue down the path that they're going. While others definitely will probably do a kind of bit more of a wait and see, because the actual technology to implement 100 gig today is still quite expensive, in particular single mode technology. It started off with the modular transceivers that was CSP types. They were quite large and fairly expensive. CSP2 is now around. That's available today. That is about half the size. And it is a little bit cheaper, but not significantly cheaper. Not as much cheaper as people expected it to be. And then CSP4 is coming, and there are some people who use a QSFP version, but that doesn't tend to be as popular for a number of reasons, more technical reasons. But CSP4 is coming. We expect that's probably going to be more the flavor that people want to use, and it is expected to be a lot cheaper. And that probably is still, from a volume perspective, probably roughly about 12 months away. So I wouldn't expect to see a big uptick and probably until the middle of next year.
Okay.